Hey guys, today we're diving into something that's fundamental to every aspect of your life. Connection. Have you ever walked into a room and felt immediately drawn to someone? There's something about them, maybe their energy, the way they carry themselves, or the warmth in their smile. It's magnetic, isn't it? But here's the reality check. That kind of connection isn't something magical or out of reach for most people. It's a skill. A skill that, once mastered, can transform your personal and professional life. You can create the same impact, drawing people in and building trust effortlessly. That's what we're going to explore today. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to drop your location and local time in the comments, and let's see how far our journey together reaches. Now, open your phone screen, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. Mastering the art of connection is more than just knowing how to talk to people. It's about understanding the psychology behind why people respond the way they do. Human connection is fundamental. It's what drives business success, personal happiness, and fulfillment. Imagine building a network where people trust you, support you, and want to help you succeed. This isn't about being the loudest or most outgoing person in the room. It's about understanding how people think and feel and respond to you on a deeper level. Most people don't realize how much of our interactions are shaped by these invisible psychological forces. And even if they do, they don't know how to harness them. They think that charisma and influence are something you're born with. And maybe they assume they either have it or they don't, but that's not the case. Connection is not a gift, it's a learned skill, and it's one that you can absolutely master. As we go through today's session, you'll learn why people connect with some individuals instantly, while others struggle to form lasting relationships. We'll break down the science of trust, warmth, and influence, and most importantly, we'll give you practical tools to start using these principles in your own life. Whether you're looking to grow your business, deepen personal relationships, or build a network of influential allies, this is the foundation. You see, at the core of human connection is one key factor: trust. Without it, no relationship can grow. Trust opens doors, creates opportunities, and lays the groundwork for genuine influence. If you can learn how to foster trust in every interaction, your ability to influence and connect will become effortless. Now, so many people go through life without even realizing how much their behaviors, words, and body language impact their ability to build connection. But here's the thing. We are always sending signals. The way we carry ourselves, the way we speak, and even the energy we bring into a room. It all plays a role in how others perceive us. And you know what? It's all connected to the science of social influence. People are wired to trust those who make them feel good, not just in what they say, but in how they feel in that person's presence. That's why first impressions are so critical. Think about it. When you walk into a room, people size you up within a fraction of a second. They make judgments based on your body language, the way you present yourself, and even the energy you project. This initial assessment is usually subconscious, but it has a powerful impact on how they respond to you for the rest of your interaction. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you have to be perfect, or that you need to have a polished, rehearsed way of speaking in order to build connection. The truth is, the most magnetic people in the world don't focus on being perfect. They focus on making others feel understood, seen, and valued. That's where the power of connection lies. It's in how you make people feel when they're around you. There's a reason why certain individuals seem to have a magnetic quality. It's not because they're trying harder or because they've mastered the art of talking. It's because they've mastered the psychology of connection. They understand how to read the room, how to pick up on nonverbal cues, and how to make others feel at ease, heard, and important. You don't have to be an extrovert to build this kind of connection. In fact, introverts often have a natural ability to connect with others on a deep level because they tend to listen more intently and focus on quality over quantity in their interactions. But whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there are principles of connection that anyone can learn and apply. It's all about shifting your mindset from focusing on yourself, your anxieties, your insecurities, your desire to impress, and instead focusing on the other person. What do they need? What are they feeling? How can you make them feel seen and heard in this moment? When you shift your focus in this way, your interactions naturally become more genuine. And as a result, people begin to trust you more. They're more likely to feel comfortable opening up to you, and they'll be more inclined to want to work with you, support you, or simply enjoy your company. So, what exactly is happening in these moments of connection? It's a lot more than you might think. When people feel a sense of connection, their brains release chemicals like oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is often referred to as the love hormone because it helps create feelings of trust, safety, and connection between people. It's the same hormone that's released when you hug someone, when you laugh with a friend, or when you spend time with a loved one. Now, imagine you're in a meeting or a social setting and you're trying to build trust with someone. By simply being present, listening attentively, and responding with warmth, you're triggering that same hormonal response. You're creating a connection that's felt on a biological level. That's the power of connection. It's not just mental or emotional, it's also physical, but it doesn't end there. Connection also shapes the way we think. When people feel connected to you, they're more likely to share their ideas, support your vision, and work together toward mutual goals. Connection fosters collaboration, creativity, and innovation. In fact, the most successful teams and partnerships are often built on a foundation of strong interpersonal connection. People work better together when they trust each other, when they feel valued, and when they know their contributions are being heard. Now, you might be thinking, how do I actually start building this kind of connection? Well, the first step is recognizing that connection isn't just about words. It's about presence, body language, and energy. When you enter a room, your body language speaks before you even say a word. If you walk in with your shoulders slumped and your head down, you're sending a signal that you're not confident or open to connection. But if you stand tall, make eye contact, and exude positive energy, people are naturally drawn to you. You've probably heard the saying, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And that couldn't be more true when it comes to connection. If you make someone feel valued, heard, and understood, they will remember you, and they'll want to connect with you again. So, how do you start making these shifts in your own interactions? It all starts with awareness. Pay attention to your body language, your tone of voice, and your energy. Are you projecting warmth and confidence? Are you making others feel comfortable around you? These small adjustments can have a huge impact on the way people respond to you. But building connection isn't just about making people feel good in the moment. It's also about creating long-term relationships. Once you've established that initial trust, you need to nurture it. Building lasting relationships requires consistency, care, and genuine interest in others. It's about showing up for people, listening to their needs, and offering your support. When you consistently create positive experiences for people, they will naturally be drawn to you. They'll want to work with you, collaborate with you, and invest in your success. This is the true power of connection. It's not just about getting what you want in the moment. It's about building lasting relationships that will support you throughout your life. So, as we continue today's journey together, think about how you can start applying these principles in your own life. How can you make others feel more valued, more understood, and more connected to you? It all starts with shifting your mindset from focusing on yourself to focusing on others. When you do that, the possibilities are endless. The relationships you build, the opportunities you create, and the success you achieve will all be a result of the deep connections you cultivate along the way. To take this deeper, let's talk about how trust, warmth, and authenticity can help build lasting influence. It's not enough to just be charming or know how to engage in small talk. The essence of true connection lies in your ability to create a genuine rapport with others, where both sides feel respected, understood, and valued. Think about the relationships that have meant the most to you in your life, the friendships that have lasted, the business partnerships that have thrived, or even the romantic connections that have stood the test of time. At the heart of all of them is the ability to build trust and create real emotional connections. Trust is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. If people don't trust you, they won't want to work with you, collaborate with you, or share their ideas with you. Without trust, there is no true connection. Everything else becomes a facade. Building trust starts with consistency and authenticity. People are naturally drawn to those who are authentic, who show up as they are, without pretense or hidden agendas. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to fake it. They try to be something they're not. Whether it's pretending to be overly confident or putting up a front to appear more important, the problem with this approach is that people can tell when you're being inauthentic. You might not see it, but your body language, tone, and overall energy will give it away. People have an uncanny ability to sense when something feels off, and when that happens, the connection starts to break down. Instead, the key to building real lasting relationships is to be authentic, to show up as your true self. This doesn't mean you have to share everything about yourself or reveal all your vulnerabilities right away. But it does mean being honest about who you are, what you stand for, and how you want to interact with others. Authenticity creates trust because it signals to the other person that you are reliable, transparent, and sincere. When people trust you, they begin to open up to you. They feel comfortable sharing their ideas, their concerns, and their desires. They know that you won't judge them, take advantage of them, or manipulate them. Instead, they feel safe with you. And that sense of safety is what makes people feel connected to you on a deeper level. Now, let's talk about warmth, something that's often overlooked but crucial for creating strong connections. Warmth is more than just being friendly. It's about making people feel comfortable in your presence. It's about making them feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who they are, not just for what they can do for you. Warmth doesn't require you to be outgoing or overly expressive. It simply requires you to be present and engaged. People can tell when you're truly listening to them, when you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but when you're genuinely invested in what they have to say. That kind of attention makes people feel valued. And when they feel valued, they're more likely to open up to you, collaborate with you, and form a bond with you that goes beyond the surface level. One of the easiest ways to show warmth is through your body language. If you're standing with your arms crossed, avoiding eye contact, or looking around the room while someone is talking to you, it's hard for that person to feel connected to you. But when you stand with an open posture, make eye contact, and lean in slightly, you communicate to the other person that you're engaged and invested in the conversation. These nonverbal cues are powerful because they convey a sense of approachability and warmth without you having to say a word. Along with warmth, being empathetic is another key ingredient in building strong, lasting connections. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand what they're going through, and to respond in a way that shows you care about their feelings. When you show empathy, you signal that you're not just focused on your own needs or desires, but that you're interested in helping others, understanding their perspective, and supporting them in a way that feels genuine. Empathy doesn't require you to have all the answers or to fix someone's problems. Sometimes, just listening and validating someone's emotions is enough to build a deep connection. When you show empathy, you create a space where the other person feels safe to express themselves, knowing that they won't be judged or dismissed. That feeling of safety is essential for creating strong bonds. Whether in personal relationships or in professional settings, one of the most powerful tools for demonstrating empathy is asking thoughtful questions. People love talking about themselves, but they also appreciate when someone shows a genuine interest in their lives. By asking questions that go beyond surface-level small talk, you can encourage others to share their experiences, their emotions, and their thoughts. And the more they open up, the stronger the connection becomes. For example, instead of just asking, "How was your day?" try asking, "What was the highlight of your day?" This simple shift invites the other person to share something meaningful, something that can spark a deeper conversation. And when you listen attentively to their response, you show that you truly care about what they have to say. But it's not just about asking the right questions. It's also about listening in a way that makes the other person feel heard. Active listening is a skill that takes practice. But once you master it, it can dramatically improve the quality of your connections. Active listening involves fully engaging with the speaker, focusing on their words, and responding in a way that shows you understand their message. It's not about thinking of your next response or interrupting with your own story. It's about being present in the moment and giving the speaker the space to express themselves. When you listen actively, you create an environment where the other person feels valued and understood. They feel like their thoughts matter, like they're being seen for who they truly are. And when people feel that way, they're more likely to reciprocate that warmth, trust, and empathy, further strengthening the connection. Let's also talk about energy, the invisible force that drives how we interact with others. People are constantly picking up on the energy around them. When you walk into a room, your energy speaks before you do. Are you bringing positive energy, or are you carrying stress and negativity with you? The energy you project has a profound effect on the people around you, and it can either create a connection or drive people away. Positive energy is contagious. When you walk into a room with a sense of calm, confidence, and enthusiasm, people naturally gravitate towards you. They feel comfortable in your presence, and they're more likely to want to engage with you. On the other hand, if you walk into a room with tension or anxiety, people can sense that too. It creates a barrier, making it harder to build a genuine connection. The key is to be intentional with your energy. Before entering any social situation, take a moment to check in with yourself. How do you want to show up? Do you want to bring warmth, excitement, or calm to the room? Once you set your intention, you can begin to project that energy into the space. And as you do, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to connect with others. Now, I want to leave you with a few practical tips to start applying these principles in your life. First, pay attention to your body language, stand tall, make eye contact, and lean in slightly to show that you're engaged. Second, focus on listening more than you speak. When you make others feel heard and understood, you create a deeper connection. Finally, be intentional with your energy. Walk into every situation with a sense of warmth and positivity, and watch how it transforms your interactions. As we move forward, remember that building connections isn't about being perfect or trying to impress others. It's about showing up authentically, being present, and making others feel valued. When you do this, the relationships you build will be stronger, more fulfilling, and more meaningful. Now that we've touched on the importance of connection and how trust, warmth, and authenticity play pivotal roles in building relationships, let's dive into one of the most critical aspects of human interaction: first impressions. First impressions are incredibly powerful. They can make or break a relationship before you even speak a word. And while it may seem unfair that judgments are made so quickly, this is just how human psychology works. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Before you even open your mouth, people are already deciding what they think of you. They're not necessarily assessing your words, but they are evaluating everything else: your body language, your facial expressions, your posture, and even your energy. The way you present yourself in those first few moments sets the tone for the rest of your interaction. Now, the great news here is that first impressions are not random, and they are certainly not left to chance. You have control over how you are perceived, the way you enter a room, your initial gestures, your body language. All of this is within your control. And with a little awareness, you can start to master it. First impressions are not about luck or coincidence. They are about how you choose to present yourself in those first crucial moments. Think of first impressions like the opening scene of a movie. If the first few minutes of the film failed to grab your attention, you might check out early and lose interest. But if those opening moments are compelling, you're hooked. You want to see what happens next. This is exactly how first impressions work. They're your chance to captivate your audience, to draw people in, to make them want to get to know you, and to leave a lasting impression that lasts long after you've left the room. The key is to remember that first impressions are based almost entirely on nonverbal communication. In fact, studies suggest that around 92% of a person's first impression is formed through body language and tone of voice, not the words they say. Let's think about this. When someone enters a room, how do you decide whether they're approachable? What gives you the feeling that you want to engage with them or not? It's not necessarily their words, it's their energy. It's the way they move, the way they carry themselves, the way they make eye contact, and the warmth they project. One of the most significant aspects of making a good first impression is your body language. If you're standing with your arms crossed, hunched over, or avoiding eye contact, you're immediately sending a message that you're closed off or disinterested. People will pick up on that instantly, and it can make them uncomfortable or less inclined to connect with you. However, if you walk in with an open stance, shoulders back, and maintain eye contact, you project confidence and warmth. You give the signal that you're approachable, engaged, and ready to connect. This doesn't mean you need to be the most confident or outgoing person in the room. Not everyone is naturally extroverted, and that's perfectly fine. But everyone can practice the art of open body language just by standing tall, relaxing your shoulders, and making natural eye contact. You'll be signaling that you're ready for a meaningful connection. Presence is key. Speaking of presence, let's talk about energy. When you enter a room, your energy is palpable. Have you ever walked into a space and immediately felt the shift in the atmosphere? Perhaps it was a person who entered with a quiet confidence, and it felt like everyone's attention naturally gravitated toward them. That's the power of energy. Energy is contagious. The energy you bring into a space is felt by everyone, even if it's not immediately obvious. You might have heard the saying, energy doesn't lie, and it's true. Whether we're aware of it or not, we constantly pick up on the energy that others are putting out. Think of the people you've met who seem to light up the room when they walk in. It's not because they are talking the loudest or being the most animated, but because their energy is engaging. People feel comfortable around them. They make others feel important, valued, and heard. If you want to master first impressions, it's essential to bring the right energy into the room. The energy you project will influence how people respond to you. Are you bringing positive, open energy? Are you walking into a room with the intent to connect, to make others feel at ease? Or are you coming in with an energy that's closed off or uncertain? The key is to be aware of the energy you're carrying and choose to bring positive energy with you. Even if you're nervous, even if you're unsure, one powerful way to do this is to use the concept of mirroring. Mirroring is the subconscious act of matching someone else's body language, tone, and energy. We do it naturally when we feel connected to someone. We mimic their gestures, their posture, and even their tone of voice. This creates a sense of familiarity and comfort, and people are instinctively drawn to those who mirror their energy. When you walk into a room, take a moment to assess the energy of the people already there. Are they relaxed and easygoing? Are they more serious and reserved? Adjust your energy accordingly. If the room feels calm, bring that same sense of calm into your presence. If the room is high energy, don't try to shut it down. Instead, match that energy with your own positive vibe. Another key component of making a strong first impression is eye contact. Eye contact is one of the most powerful nonverbal cues in communication. It signals interest, warmth, and trust. But the key to effective eye contact is balance. Too little eye contact, and you may seem disinterested or untrustworthy. Too much eye contact, and it can feel intimidating or aggressive. The sweet spot is to hold eye contact just long enough to convey your engagement and interest, but not so long that it becomes uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about smiling. Smiling is another incredibly simple yet powerful tool for making a good first impression. A genuine smile can make you instantly more approachable and likable. It sends the message that you're open, friendly, and positive. But remember, a genuine smile comes from the eyes, not just the mouth. When you smile with your eyes, it shows that your warmth and friendliness are authentic. To make the best first impression possible, it's important to understand that it's not just about what you do in the first few seconds of entering a room. It's about maintaining that same level of openness and engagement throughout the interaction. From the moment you walk in to the moment you leave, continue to project positive energy, show interest in others, and remain present in the conversation. So, what can you do right now to start mastering the art of first impressions? First, pay attention to your body language. The next time you walk into a room, stand tall, relax your shoulders, and make eye contact with the people around you. Notice how people respond to your presence. Second, check your energy. Are you bringing positivity into the room? Are you open and approachable? Make sure your energy matches the vibe you want to create. Lastly, remember that authenticity is key. People can tell when you're being genuine, and they're much more likely to connect with you when they feel that what they're seeing is real. Be yourself, show up with confidence, and let your authentic energy shine through. That's how you'll make a lasting impression. Now that we've covered the power of first impressions, let's delve deeper into something crucial: influence. What makes some people incredibly influential while others struggle to make an impact? The answer lies in understanding the psychology of influence. Influence isn't just about persuasion, It's about shaping perceptions and guiding behavior in a way that feels natural, effortless, and even inspiring. You might think of influence as something reserved for politicians, CEOs, or celebrities. But in reality, influence is a skill that anyone can master. The key is to understand the psychology that drives people's decisions, actions, and responses. By mastering these principles, you can enhance your own ability to influence, whether you're leading a team, building a business, or simply trying to connect with others on a deeper level. First, let's talk about how people make decisions. We like to think that decisions are based on logic, facts, and careful analysis. But in truth, most of our decisions are driven by emotions, the biases, and subconscious triggers. It's not that people are irrational, but emotion plays a huge role in decision-making. And the more you understand how emotions drive behavior, the better you'll be at influencing others. For example, have you ever been in a situation where you knew a decision wasn't entirely logical, but you made it anyway because of how it made you feel? Maybe it was buying a product because you felt a connection to the brand, or choosing a restaurant because it gave you a sense of comfort or nostalgia. These decisions weren't driven by facts alone. They were driven by emotion. This is the foundation of influence. People are more likely to say yes to something when they feel a connection to it, whether it's a product, a proposal, or a person. Emotion is the key. That's why understanding the emotional triggers that influence people's decisions is so important. And the good news is that you can learn to trigger those emotions in a way that guides people to the outcomes you want, without manipulation or force. One of the most powerful tools of influence is building rapport. Rapport is the feeling of mutual respect and understanding between two people. When you build a rapport, you create a sense of trust, which is essential for any kind of influence. But building rapport is not just about being friendly or charming. It's about creating a connection that makes people feel comfortable with you. When people feel comfortable with you, they're more likely to trust you, support your ideas, and follow your lead. So, how do you build rapport? It starts with being genuine. Authenticity is critical. People can tell when you're being fake or trying too hard to impress them. But when you show up as your true self, others are more likely to open up to you and form a deeper connection. And the best part is, building rapport isn't just about talking. It's about listening. The more you listen to others, the more they feel valued and understood. And when they feel that way, they're more likely to respond positively to your influence. Another powerful aspect of influence is social proof. Social proof is the psychological phenomenon where people look to others to decide what's correct or appropriate. When you see a crowd of people lined up outside a restaurant, for example, you might assume that it's a great place to eat. Similarly, when you see others endorsing a product or service, you're more likely to trust it. This is because we are wired to follow the actions of others, especially in uncertain situations. You can leverage social proof in your own life by showcasing testimonials, reviews, or examples of others who have benefited from your ideas, products, or services. When people see that others like them have had positive experiences, they're more likely to trust you and follow your lead. In addition to social proof, another key aspect of influence is scarcity. We've all heard the phrase, "You don't know what you've got until it's gone." Well, scarcity works because people tend to value things more when they perceive them as rare or limited. This is why limited time offers and exclusive deals are so effective in marketing. When people feel like they might miss out on something valuable, they're more likely to take action. But scarcity doesn't have to be limited to just physical products. You can create a sense of scarcity by emphasizing the uniqueness of an opportunity or the rarity of your time or expertise. If people perceive something as scarce, they'll be more likely to act on it. Now, let's talk about framing, a concept that plays a huge role in how people perceive information. The way you present something can have a dramatic impact on how it's received. For example, if you tell someone, "This product has a 90% success rate," they might think, "That's great." But if you tell them, "This product has a 10% failure rate," suddenly they might become hesitant. The product hasn't changed, but the way it's framed can shift people's perception of it. This is why framing is so powerful in influence. When you can frame your ideas, proposals, or requests in a way that highlights their benefits, people are more likely to say yes. It's about positioning information in a way that aligns with the other person's values, desires, and goals. Instead of focusing on the potential drawbacks or risks, emphasize the rewards and positive outcomes. Another important tool of influence is reciprocity. The principle of reciprocity is simple. People tend to feel obligated to return a favor. When you give something to others, whether it's your time, attention, or resources, they feel compelled to give something back. This is why reciprocity is so powerful in building influence. When you offer something valuable to someone, whether it's a helpful piece of advice or a small gesture of kindness, they're more likely to reciprocate by supporting you in return. This is especially effective in business and networking. When you help someone without expecting anything in return, they're more likely to offer you their support or help when you need it. And the best part is that it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Small acts of kindness and generosity can go a long way in building trust and influence. Finally, let's talk about the power of authority. People are more likely to listen to and follow someone who is seen as an authority in their field. This is why experts and thought leaders have such a strong influence over others. But authority doesn't always come from formal titles or credentials. It can also come from demonstrating expertise, sharing valuable insights, and showing that you know what you're talking about. If you can position yourself as an authority in your field, people will naturally look to you for guidance and advice. This doesn't mean you have to be the smartest person in the room, but it does mean you need to show up with confidence, competence, and a willingness to help others. By consistently offering value and demonstrating your expertise, you'll gain the trust and respect of those around you. In conclusion, influence is not about manipulation or coercion. It's about understanding human psychology and using that knowledge to connect with people on a deeper level. By mastering the principles of trust, rapport, social proof, scarcity, framing, reciprocity, and authority, you can become a more influential person, whether you're leading a team, building a business, or simply connecting with others. But here's the key takeaway. Influence is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned and perfected. The more you practice these principles in your daily life, the easier it will become to influence others in a way that feels authentic, empowering, and truly meaningful. And when you do, the world will begin to respond to you in ways you never thought possible. Now that we've explored the psychology behind influence, let's shift gears and focus on one of the most essential, yet often overlooked skills when it comes to connecting with others. Active listening. Active listening is far more than just hearing words. It's about creating a deeper connection by fully engaging in the conversation and making the other person feel truly understood. It's a skill that, when mastered, can make you one of the most compelling people in any room. And the best part? It's something you can start practicing today. First, let's talk about the common misconception people have about listening. Most of us think of listening as a passive activity. We assume that as long as we're hearing the other person's words, we're doing our job as a listener. But in reality, true listening is active, and it requires your full presence and attention. If you're only half listening, checking your phone, thinking about what you're going to say next, or zoning out, the other person can feel it, and the connection you're trying to build starts to slip away. Think about the last time you were in a conversation with someone and you felt truly heard. They weren't just nodding along while they thought about something else. They were actively engaged, responding thoughtfully, and showing genuine interest in what you were saying. It felt good, didn't it? You felt valued, understood, and respected. That's the power of active listening. It goes beyond the surface level and taps into the emotional layer of communication. When you listen with this kind of attention, people can't help but feel more deeply connected to you. Active listening also goes hand in hand with empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. And it's what makes active listening so effective. When you listen empathetically, you're not only absorbing what the person is saying, but you're also feeling what they're feeling. You're putting yourself in their shoes, experiencing the conversation from their perspective. This level of engagement is rare, and it's what sets apart good listeners from great ones. But here's the kicker. Listening is a skill that can be learned. Sure, some people may be naturally better listeners, but with practice, anyone can become an exceptional listener. So, how do you improve your listening skills? Let's break it down. First, you need to eliminate distractions. If you're in a conversation, give the other person your full attention. Put away your phone, close your laptop, and focus entirely on the conversation at hand. People can tell when you're distracted, and it sends a message that you're not fully engaged or interested in them. But when you make an effort to be present, it signals to the other person that they matter, that their thoughts, feelings, and experiences are important to you. Next, it's about showing that you're listening. One of the simplest ways to do this is through nonverbal cues. Maintain eye contact, nod in agreement, and use facial expressions to show that you're following along with what the other person is saying. These small gestures may seem subtle, but they have a profound effect on the other person. When someone sees that you're genuinely engaged in what they're saying, it encourages them to continue opening up. But here's where most people get it wrong. Instead of just hearing the words, you need to focus on the meaning behind them. Pay attention to the emotions that are driving the conversation. Are they excited? Anxious? Frustrated? Understanding the emotional tone of the conversation is key to active listening. It shows the other person that you're not just listening to their words, but you're also understanding the emotional context behind them. This is where reflective listening comes in. Reflective listening involves mirroring what the other person has said, but in your own words. When you repeat what they've said and offer a slight rephrasing, it helps ensure that you've understood them correctly. And it also gives them the opportunity to clarify if necessary. For example, if someone says, "I've been really overwhelmed with work lately," you might respond with, "It sounds like you've been feeling a lot of pressure with your workload. Is that right?" This simple act shows that you're not just hearing the words, but you're processing them and trying to understand the deeper meaning. Another powerful aspect of active listening is asking follow-up questions. These questions should be designed to encourage the other person to share more about their thoughts or feelings. Instead of jumping in with your own story or advice, ask questions that show genuine curiosity. Questions like, "What was that like for you?" Or, "How did that make you feel?" Create space for the other person to explore their emotions further. By asking thoughtful questions, you demonstrate that you care about their experience and you deepen the connection between you. One of the biggest barriers to active listening is the temptation to interrupt. It's human nature to want to jump in and offer your own perspective. especially when you feel you can relate to what the other person is saying. But interruptions can derail the flow of the conversation and make the other person feel unheard or dismissed. Instead, focus on letting them speak fully before you respond. When you do speak, make sure your response is not about you. It's about them. Reflect on what they've said. Empathize with their emotions, and offer your perspective only when it's relevant to the conversation. But what if the person you're speaking to isn't necessarily saying something that makes sense to you? What if they're expressing frustration or anger that you don't fully understand? In those moments, empathy becomes even more critical. When someone is upset, they often don't need advice or solutions right away. What they need is to be heard. They need to know that their feelings are valid and that you're there to support them, not judge them. In these situations, try to hold space for their emotions without trying to fix everything. Simply listen and offer comfort by acknowledging their experience. Another aspect of active listening that's often overlooked is the power of silence. Silence isn't awkward or uncomfortable. It's a powerful tool that allows the other person to process their thoughts and feelings. When you give them space to speak without interrupting, you allow them to share more deeply. Sometimes, people just need a moment to gather their thoughts, and your silence provides them with that space. Don't rush to fill every gap in the conversation. Instead, use those pauses to reflect on what's been said and give the other person time to open up further. Active listening also means staying non-judgmental. People tend to hold back or edit their thoughts when they fear being judged or criticized. If you want others to feel comfortable sharing with you, create an environment where they feel safe to express themselves freely. This means setting aside your opinions or preconceived notions and being open to hearing things that may be difficult or uncomfortable. The goal is to understand, not to pass judgment. When you listen without judgment, you foster a deeper sense of trust and connection with the other person. In addition to listening, empathy and validation play crucial roles in building connection. Empathy goes beyond understanding someone's words. It's about acknowledging their emotions and showing that you care. Validation is similar, but it specifically involves affirming someone's feelings. When you validate someone's emotions, you're saying, "I understand why you feel the way you do, and your feelings are valid." This can be incredibly powerful in making the other person feel seen and heard. As we wrap up this section, I want you to remember that active listening is a superpower. It's a skill that can transform your relationships, whether they're personal or professional. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, and the stronger your connections will be. When you listen actively, you not only make others feel valued, but you also build trust, respect, and rapport. And in the end, that's what makes you unforgettable. We've explored the foundational skills that allow us to connect on a deeper level, from first impressions to active listening. Now, let's dive into the art of transforming small talk into meaningful conversations. Most people think of small talk as nothing more than a social obligation, something to fill the silence, to break the ice, or to politely pass time. But small talk, when done right, is far from trivial. In fact, small talk can be the doorway to richer, more engaging, and more fulfilling conversations. Let's start by thinking about your average small talk conversation. The typical exchange might go something like this. "How's it going?" "Good. Busy with work. How about you?" "Same here. Just trying to get through the week." And then, the conversation fades out. It's polite, sure, but it feels hollow, doesn't it? There's no emotional connection, no exploration of what's truly going on in each other's lives. It's just a routine, a brief exchange that leaves both people feeling like they haven't really shared anything meaningful. Here's the thing. Small talk doesn't have to be shallow. Small talk is, in essence, an invitation to connect. It's the moment when you can test the waters and see if there's potential for a deeper conversation. So the problem is, most people don't know how to take it beyond the surface level. They get stuck in the routine of asking about the weather, work, or the latest news. And while these topics aren't inherently bad, they don't allow for meaningful exchange. So, how do you turn small talk into something more substantial? It starts with curiosity. You've heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat. But in this case, curiosity will make the conversation. Instead of asking the usual, "How's your day?" or "What's new with you?" consider digging a little deeper. Ask about the things that matter to the other person, the things they're passionate about, the experiences they're excited to share, the dreams they're chasing. If you ask questions that prompt more than just surface-level responses, you'll naturally steer the conversation toward more meaningful ground. For example, rather than just asking, "How's work?" ask, "What's the most exciting thing happening at work right now?" Or, "What part of your job do you love the most?" These questions encourage the other person to reflect on what truly matters to them at work, and they give you the chance to learn more about their passions, motivations, and challenges. Avoid the automatic response trap. We're all guilty of it, that automatic, almost robotic response to the standard small talk questions. The problem with this is that it puts the conversation on autopilot. When you answer a question with a generic response, you're not really engaging with the person. You're simply passing time. But if you shift your mindset and treat every conversation as an opportunity to learn something new about the other person, you'll be more likely to ask thoughtful questions and make the exchange feel more genuine. Another way to elevate small talk into something meaningful is by practicing active engagement. This doesn't just mean listening. It means actively engaging with what the other person is saying. When they share something with you, respond with empathy and reflect on what they're saying. For example, if someone talks about a challenging project at work, instead of just saying, "Uh-oh, that sounds tough," dive a little deeper. Ask, "What's been the hardest part of that project?" Or, "How did you manage to overcome that challenge?" These follow-up questions show that you're not just listening, but that you're invested in their experience. This deeper engagement encourages the other person to share more openly. The more genuinely interested you are in their story, the more they will feel encouraged to open up. Meaningful conversations don't happen by chance. They happen when both parties actively invest in the exchange, showing curiosity, respect, and empathy for each other's experiences. One of the simplest ways to deepen a conversation is by using follow-up questions that invite the other person to share more. The key is to ask questions that encourage them to reflect on their feelings, experiences, and insights, rather than just providing factual answers. This requires a shift away from transactional dialogue, "How's work?" "Fine," to exploratory dialogue, "What's the most rewarding part of your work?" Or, "How do you feel when you accomplish that goal?" By inviting the other person to reflect, you allow them to go deeper and offer more meaningful insights. Think about it. When you ask someone about their work, they might answer with something like, "It's going well, just busy." But when you ask them, "What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now?" Or, "What are you most excited about in your job?" You're giving them an opportunity to reflect on what truly matters to them. This opens up the conversation and makes it much more engaging. Another technique is to share something personal about yourself. People often hold back from opening up because they feel vulnerable. But vulnerability is the bridge that creates deeper connections. When you share something personal about your own experiences, it encourages the other person to do the same. This doesn't mean revealing your deepest secrets, but it does mean showing the other person that you're comfortable being open and authentic. Vulnerability breeds trust, and when both parties are willing to be vulnerable, it's easier to connect on a deeper level. This concept is especially powerful in professional settings. Whether you're networking, leading a team, or collaborating with others, taking small talk to a deeper level can significantly strengthen your relationships. Instead of sticking to the standard, "How was your weekend?" or "What's new at work?" try asking about the other person's challenges and successes. Instead of focusing on surface-level facts, focus on what drives them, what excites them, and what they're passionate about. When you make the conversation about them, it will naturally become more engaging, fulfilling, and memorable. One of the most important things to remember in any conversation is to stay present. It's easy to get distracted in today's world. There are constant notifications, emails, and the temptation to check your phone. But when you're having a conversation, especially one that's moving beyond small talk, your full attention should be on the other person. Be mindful of your body language, your eye contact, and your responses. The more present you are, the more the other person will feel valued, and the deeper your connection will become. If you really want to stand out in any conversation, make it your mission to be the person who asks the right questions. Too many people get stuck in the habit of asking predictable, shallow questions. But when you ask deeper, more insightful questions, you immediately create a more engaging and fulfilling conversation. Questions like, "What's been your biggest accomplishment in the last year?" Or, "What's something you've learned that's made a real difference in your life?" can spark conversations that go far beyond small talk and into meaningful territory. But don't stop there. Listen actively and empathetically. Follow up with thoughtful questions and share something personal about yourself when the moment feels right. This will help foster trust and respect, creating an environment where meaningful conversations can thrive. Small talk doesn't have to be small. With the right mindset, the right questions, and the right level of engagement, it can lead to deeper connections, stronger relationships, and more meaningful exchanges. So next time you find yourself in a small talk situation, remember, it's not just about passing the time. It's about creating the opportunity for something much more profound. As we continue our journey through mastering connection and influence, let's explore one of the most powerful and transformative forces you can cultivate, empathy. Empathy is the ability to deeply understand and share in the feelings of another person. It is not just a buzzword in the world of relationships and influence. It is the foundational building block of trust, connection, and true influence. When you master empathy, you don't just connect with others on a surface level. You connect with them on a much deeper, more meaningful level. What makes empathy so powerful is its ability to break down the barriers that often exist between people. In a world where we are all busy, distracted, and focused on our own lives, empathy allows us to step outside of our own experiences and into the world of another person. It gives us the ability to truly understand what someone else is going through and respond with genuine care and concern. And when you can do that, you become not just a listener, but a trusted confidant, a supporter, and an ally. Empathy, when practiced consistently, can transform your relationships, personal, professional, and even casual acquaintances. But the real power of empathy lies in its ability to influence people in a way that feels natural and authentic. instead of manipulating or coercing people into agreeing with you or taking action. Empathy allows you to create a sense of shared understanding, where people willingly follow your lead because they feel heard, valued, and respected. Empathy begins with active listening, which we've already covered. But it doesn't stop there. Active listening allows you to understand the words being spoken. But empathy goes a step further by allowing you to understand the feelings behind those words. It's about tuning into the emotions, fears, and desires that are driving the conversation and responding in a way that acknowledges those emotions. For example, let's say you're talking to a colleague who is frustrated with a project. They may say something like, "I'm just so overwhelmed right now. There's so much to do, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere." If you were simply listening to their words, you might respond by saying, "It sounds like you're busy." But if you're practicing empathy, you would understand that their frustration is likely rooted in a feeling of being overwhelmed, perhaps even helpless or unsupported. An empathetic response might sound something like, "I can hear how frustrating this is for you. It must feel like there's too much on your plate. Nero, how can I help?" This kind of response not only acknowledges the frustration, but it also offers support and reassurance. It makes the other person feel understood, and it creates a safe space for them to share more openly about their feelings and challenges. The result? You've not only connected with them emotionally, but you've also started to build a foundation of trust and mutual respect, the first steps in true influence. One of the most common obstacles to empathy is judgment. It's easy to listen to someone's problems or frustrations and immediately offer solutions, advice, or a criticism. But this is where empathy can really make a difference. Instead of jumping into problem-solving mode, take a moment to simply acknowledge the other person's experience. Let them feel heard first. This is incredibly powerful, because when people feel understood, they are more likely to be open to your ideas, suggestions, or influence. Let's take a closer look at empathy in leadership. Great leaders are often described as being empathetic because they have the ability to understand their team members' needs, challenges, and desires. They create an environment where people feel valued, supported, and motivated to do their best work. But empathy in leadership goes beyond just understanding your team's emotions. It's about responding in a way that helps them overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. A leader who lacks empathy might say, "Just get the work done. You've been given all the tools you need." But an empathetic leader will say, "I can see that you're struggling. What's getting in your way? Let's figure this out together." This response shows that the leader cares about the individual's well-being and success. It demonstrates that they understand the person is more than just an employee. They are a human being with challenges and emotions that deserve to be acknowledged. Empathy also plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. And when two people are in conflict, it's easy to get caught up in the "he said," "she said" cycle, where both parties focus on their own feelings and needs. But empathy allows you to see the situation from the other person's perspective. Instead of focusing on who is right or wrong, you focus on understanding the emotions and motivations behind each person's actions. For example, let's say you're mediating a disagreement between two colleagues. One might feel that their ideas aren't being heard, while the other might feel that they're being unfairly criticized. An empathetic response would be to first listen to both sides, then validate their emotions by saying something like, "I understand that you're feeling frustrated because you don't think your ideas are being valued. And I hear that you're feeling defensive because you believe your input is being misunderstood." By acknowledging both parties' feelings, you create a space where they feel heard, which opens the door for collaboration and resolution. But empathy doesn't just benefit others, it benefits you too. When you practice empathy, you build deeper connections with those around you. And those connections naturally lead to influence. People want to work with, follow, and support those who make them feel understood and valued. And the more people feel understood, the more likely they are to trust you and want to be part of your journey. But empathy goes beyond just understanding and responding to emotions in conversations. It's also about reading emotional cues and understanding body language. People often communicate more through their body language than they do through their words. A furrowed brow, crossed arms, or a tense posture can all signal discomfort or stress, even if someone is verbally saying they're fine. An empathetic person can pick up on these subtle cues and respond accordingly. For instance, if someone is speaking to you and their body language indicates they're feeling anxious or uncomfortable, you can acknowledge that by saying something like, "I can tell this might be a tough subject for you. If you're not ready to talk about it, that's okay, but I'm here when you are." This kind of response shows that you are not only listening to their words, but also attuned to their unspoken feelings. It gives them space to open up or, if necessary, to retreat. Empathy also plays a huge role in negotiations. Whether you are negotiating a business deal, a salary, or a personal agreement, understanding the emotions and needs of the other party is essential. A negotiator who lacks empathy may miss important signals or fail to connect with the other party, leading to a breakdown in communication. But an empathetic negotiator can pick up on subtle cues, anticipate the other party's concerns, and respond in a way that leads to a mutually beneficial outcome. In conclusion, empathy is not just a nice-to-have trait, it's an essential skill for mastering connection and influence. By developing empathy, you unlock the ability to deeply understand others, respond with genuine care, and build relationships based on trust and respect. And when you combine empathy with the other principles of connection and influence, you become a force for positive change in your personal and professional life. Empathy is the secret ingredient that makes influence feel natural, authentic, and empowering. So, start practicing empathy today. Listen with your heart, understand with your mind, and respond with compassion. The more you embody empathy, the more people will be drawn to you, trust you, and want to follow your lead. By now, you've learned about the importance of first impressions, empathy, and active listening, essential skills that create deeper connections and enable you to influence others. But there's another key factor that can drastically elevate your ability to connect and influence people: charisma. Charisma is the elusive quality that makes people want to be around you, listen to you, and follow your lead. It's the magnetic presence that some people naturally exude. And while it may seem like something you either have or don't, the truth is that charisma can be cultivated. At its core, charisma is about the energy you bring into any room or interaction. It's about making people feel special, valued, and respected simply by your presence. People who are charismatic don't need to be the loudest or most flamboyant. They don't even need to be the most knowledgeable. What sets them apart is their ability to engage others emotionally, to make them feel comfortable, important, and heard. So, how can you develop your own charismatic presence? The first step is understanding that charisma is about energy, not just words or actions. When you walk into a room, you immediately project energy, now whether you're aware of it or not. The way you carry yourself, your body language, the tone of your voice, and even your eye contact all send signals to others about your confidence, warmth, and approachability. And that's where charisma begins, with the energy you project. Let's break this down further. One of the most powerful aspects of charismatic presence is nonverbal communication. Research has shown that over 90% of human communication is nonverbal, meaning that people often form opinions about you based on your body language, facial expressions, and overall demeanor long before you say a word. This is why being aware of your posture and movements is so important. If you want to be perceived as confident and charismatic, you must learn to own your space. Start by standing tall, with your shoulders back and your head held high. This simple change in posture immediately signals to others that you're confident and comfortable in your own skin. You're not shrinking or hunching over in insecurity. Instead, you are taking up space, asserting yourself in the room without being arrogant or overbearing. This is one of the most visible markers of charisma. People naturally gravitate toward those who radiate calm self-assurance. Another critical aspect of nonverbal communication is eye contact. Eye contact can make or break your charismatic presence. When you maintain steady skull contact with someone, it conveys that you are fully present in the moment and that you value their attention. It also creates a sense of intimacy and connection. However, too little eye contact can make you seem detached, uninterested, or even untrustworthy. On the other hand, too much eye contact can feel intense or confrontational. The key is to strike a balance. Aim to hold eye contact just long enough to establish rapport without overdoing it. A simple, warm smile is also incredibly powerful in creating a charismatic presence. Smiling not only makes you appear more approachable, but it also triggers positive emotions in others. When you smile, you unconsciously signal to others that you're open, friendly, and trustworthy. It's a nonverbal cue that invites others to engage with you and makes them feel at ease. Charismatic people tend to smile often, not in an exaggerated or forced way, but in a natural, inviting manner that makes others feel comfortable and welcomed. Now, let's talk about the energy you bring into a conversation. One of the most noticeable traits of charismatic individuals is that they match the energy of the room and elevate it. When people are feeling excited or enthusiastic, charismatic individuals reflect that energy. When the conversation is more serious or reflective, they can shift their own energy to match the tone, creating a sense of harmony and understanding. This ability to read the room and adjust your energy accordingly is a hallmark of true charisma. You're not just focused on what you're saying, but on how you're making others feel. Charismatic people also have a way of making others feel heard and important. One of the easiest ways to do this is by giving them your undivided attention. In a world filled with distractions, giving someone your full attention is a rare and valuable gift. Charismatic people listen with more than just their ears. They listen with their eyes, their body, and their emotions. They engage with the other person by maintaining eye contact, nodding in agreement, and responding thoughtfully. They ask questions that show genuine interest, and they make the other person feel like they're the most important person in the room. This doesn't mean you need to be the center of attention in every interaction, but rather that you make the people around you feel like they matter. Charismatic individuals have a knack for lifting others up, making them feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And when you make people feel good about themselves, they naturally gravitate toward you, and they'll remember you long after the conversation is over. Another key component of charismatic presence is the ability to tell a story. People are naturally drawn to compelling narratives, and charismatic people are often great storytellers. They don't just relay information, they make it come alive, whether it's telling a funny anecdote, sharing a personal experience, or painting a vivid picture with words. Charismatic individuals engage others by making their stories feel real and relatable. They use emotion, humor, and vivid detail to draw people in and keep them hooked. If you want to cultivate this aspect of charisma, try practicing storytelling in your everyday conversations. Don't just tell facts, or give short answers. Share your experiences, your insights, and your feelings in a way that invites others to connect with you. Use your voice to convey emotion, and use your gestures and facial expressions to bring your stories to life. Charismatic people are able to turn ordinary conversations into memorable moments by weaving stories that capture the imagination. It's also important to note that authenticity is crucial to developing charisma. Trying to be someone you're not, or forcing yourself to adopt a persona, will come across as inauthentic and turn people off. Charisma isn't about being loud, funny, or overly expressive. It's about being yourself in a way that makes others feel comfortable and engaged. When you embrace your true self and express genuine warmth and interest in others, your charisma will naturally shine through. One last thing to keep in mind is the concept of presence. Charismatic people have the ability to be fully present in the moment, making everyone around them feel like they are the most important person in the room. They aren't distracted, thinking about what's next, or looking around for someone else to talk to. Instead, they are engaged, attentive, and responsive. Presence is about creating a space where people feel valued, understood, and respected. It's the ability to be so fully engaged with someone that they feel like they have your complete attention. When you can master presence and combine it with energy, authenticity, and active engagement, you will naturally exude charisma. People will be drawn to you, and your influence will grow exponentially. The great thing about charisma is that it isn't a fixed trait, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed with practice. To wrap up, here are the key takeaways for cultivating charismatic presence. Number 1, own your space, stand tall, make eye contact, and use open body language. Tip 2, match the energy of the room. Adjust your own energy to create harmony. 3, be fully present. Give your complete attention to the person in front of you. 4, use warmth and humor. Smile often and engage others with genuine interest. 5, tell stories. Make your words come alive with emotion and detail. Number 6, be authentic. Embrace your true self and let your natural charisma shine. By practicing these principles consistently, you'll not only enhance your ability to influence others, but you'll also become someone others gravitate toward naturally. People will remember you for the way you made them feel. And that's the true essence of charisma. Section 9, the influence of nonverbal communication. How to master your body language. Up until now, we've covered many aspects of building strong connections, such as empathy, active listening, and the essence of charisma. But there's one more crucial piece to the puzzle that we cannot overlook: nonverbal communication. It's the silent language that speaks louder than words and can have a profound impact on how we connect with others. In fact, studies show that more than 70% of communication is nonverbal. That means, while words are important, how we carry ourselves, the gestures we make, and even the expressions on our faces can influence how people perceive and respond to us. When you begin to understand the nuances of body language and nonverbal cues, you unlock a powerful tool for influencing others, building rapport, and gaining trust. And the best part? You don't have to say a single word to make a lasting impact. Let's start with the basics. Posture. Your posture, or the way you carry your body, sends immediate signals to those around you. If you walk into a room with your shoulders slouched and your head down, people will likely perceive you as insecure, disengaged, or even unapproachable. On the other hand, standing tall with your shoulders back and your head held high communicates confidence, authority, and openness. Good posture is not just about standing straight. It's about occupying space with ease and comfort. People are naturally drawn to those who exude calm confidence through their body language. In social and professional situations, good posture can have an immediate and profound effect on how people perceive you. Think about the last time you interacted with someone who stood tall and maintained good posture. They likely commanded attention without even trying. That's the power of body language. The way you hold yourself in a room can dictate the dynamics of the entire interaction. But posture isn't the only nonverbal cue that matters. Eye contact plays an equally crucial role in how others perceive your level of interest, trustworthiness, and authority. Eye contact is a powerful tool in any conversation. It creates a connection and shows the other person that you're fully engaged with them. However, it's important to strike the right balance. Too little eye contact can make you seem disinterested or evasive, while too much can come across as aggressive or intimidating. The key is to maintain natural, steady eye contact that shows you are present and invested in the conversation. In addition to eye contact, there's also smiling. A genuine smile is one of the easiest and most effective ways to signal warmth and approachability. A smile can put others at ease, create a sense of trust, and set a positive tone for the conversation. Charismatic people know how to use a smile to their advantage. They use it to connect with others and make them feel comfortable. When you smile, you radiate positivity and energy, which naturally draws people to you. But what if you're in a high-stakes situation, such as a negotiation or a job interview? In these cases, your nonverbal cues are even more critical because they can influence how others perceive your confidence and authority. For example, if you're sitting in a meeting with your arms crossed, it could be perceived as defensive or closed off. To project confidence, it's important to maintain open body language, uncross your arms, keep your hands visible, and avoid fidgeting. This will make you appear more approachable and engaged, signaling that you're open to collaboration and new ideas. Another critical element of nonverbal communication is tone of voice. The way you say something is just as important, if not more so, than what you say. Tone, pitch, and cadence can convey emotions, intent, and meaning that go far beyond the literal words. If you speak too quickly, people might perceive you as anxious or rushed. If your voice is too monotone, people may think you're uninterested or unenthusiastic. A warm, steady, and engaging tone naturally draws people in, and it helps you communicate your message with clarity and conviction. When you speak with confidence and clarity, you project an image of authority, but it's also important to balance that confidence with warmth. A friendly, approachable tone can help you build rapport and make others feel more comfortable. And this doesn't just apply to conversations with strangers. Whether you're talking to a colleague, a client, or a friend, your tone can make all the difference in how your message is received. Gestures are another important part of nonverbal communication. When you use gestures in a conversation, you bring your words to life. Hand gestures, in particular, can help reinforce your message and make it more engaging. Gestures make you appear animated, confident, and passionate, and they can help convey your emotions more effectively than words alone. However, it's important to keep your gestures in check. Over-exaggerated or erratic movements can make you seem nervous or overly dramatic. The goal is to use gestures that feel natural and enhance your message. Nothing too forced or exaggerated. Mirroring is another powerful tool in nonverbal communication. Mirroring refers to subtly mimicking the body language, tone, or gestures of the person you're speaking with. It's a technique that helps create rapport and make the other person feel comfortable and connected with you. When you mirror someone, you signal that you're on the same wavelength, and it makes the other person feel understood. The key is to mirror in a natural and subtle way. Don't overdo it or make it obvious, as this could feel inauthentic. A slight adjustment in posture, a similar hand movement, or a matching tone of voice can make a huge difference in building rapport and trust. However, mirroring isn't just about mimicking someone's actions. It's also about matching their emotional tone. If the other person is excited and animated, you might want to match their enthusiasm with a similarly upbeat tone and gestures. If they're calm and reflective, adjust your energy to match theirs by slowing down your speech and using a more composed posture. This emotional synchronization creates a feeling of connection and empathy, making the conversation feel more fluid and engaging. One final aspect of nonverbal communication to consider is physical space. The way we use space in a conversation can communicate a lot about our intentions and feelings. Proxemics, or the study of personal space, is a key component of body language. How close you stand to someone can signal your level of intimacy, respect, or dominance. If you stand too close to someone, it can make them feel uncomfortable or encroached upon. On the other hand, if you stand too far away, it can make you seem disinterested or disengaged. Cultural differences also play a significant role in how personal space is interpreted. In some cultures, close proximity is seen as a sign of warmth and closeness, while in others, it may be seen as intrusive or inappropriate. Being mindful of personal space and adjusting accordingly to the situation and the individual can go a long way in helping you navigate conversations and build rapport. To sum up, nonverbal communication is an essential aspect of mastering influence and connection. Your posture, eye contact, tone of voice, gestures, and even the space you occupy immediately send powerful messages to those around you. By becoming more mindful of these cues, you can communicate more effectively, build deeper connections, and enhance your overall charisma. Start paying attention to your body language in every conversation. How do you stand, sit, or move? What signals are you sending, and how might they be interpreted? With practice, you'll begin to notice how subtle adjustments in your nonverbal communication can drastically improve your interactions and increase your ability to influence others. Remember, influence is not just about what you say, it's about how you make others feel. And nonverbal communication plays a huge role in that. We've covered many aspects of human connections and influence up until this point. But now it's time to dive into one of the most sought-after abilities in personal and professional relationships: the power to get people to say yes. Whether you're negotiating a business deal, trying to influence a friend's decision, or seeking support for an idea, persuasion is an invaluable skill. Influence is not about manipulation or coercion. It's about understanding human behavior, recognizing the factors that drive decision-making, and guiding people toward the conclusion you desire, all while maintaining integrity and respect. The art of influence lies in subtlety and understanding, not force. Let's explore how you can harness this power in your own life. One of the foundational principles of influence is understanding that people's decisions are heavily influenced by emotions, not logic. While we like to think of ourselves as rational beings, the reality is that most of our choices are driven by our feelings and our subconscious biases. This means that when you're trying to persuade someone, your goal should be to tap into their emotional drivers, not just present logical arguments or facts. For example, let's say you're trying to sell a product. If you focus solely on the features of the product and the technical specifications, you're appealing to the logical mind. But if you can help the person imagine how the product will make them feel, how it will solve a problem, make their life easier, or fulfill a desire, you're speaking directly to their emotions. This is what makes the difference between a product that's bought out of logic versus one that's bought out of emotional connection. One powerful way to influence decisions is to make people feel that they are making the choice themselves. We all resist being told what to do, but we're more likely to agree to something if we feel like we arrived at the decision on our own. This is known as the principle of autonomy. If you want to get someone to say yes, don't tell them what to do. Instead, guide them toward the conclusion in a way that makes them feel like the decision was theirs. For example, instead of saying, "You should go with this proposal," ask, "How do you think this proposal aligns with your goals?" By asking a question that encourages reflection, you help the other person come to the decision on their own. When they do this, they feel empowered, and they are much more likely to commit to the decision. Another key principle in the art of influence is the concept of social proof. People tend to follow the behavior of others, especially when they are uncertain or facing a new situation. This is why testimonials, case studies, and success stories are so powerful in persuasive communication. If you can show that others, particularly people who are similar to the person you're trying to influence, have made the same choice and experienced positive results, you're leveraging the power of social proof to sway their decision. Take, for example, the power of reviews and recommendations. Before making a purchase, most of us check online reviews to see what others have said about the product or service. If a product has positive reviews from people we trust or people like us, we are more likely to buy it. In essence, we are influenced by the actions and opinions of others. This same principle can be applied in many areas of life, from business decisions to personal relationships. If you can show that others share your perspective or have made similar choices with positive outcomes, you increase the likelihood that someone will say yes to your proposal. Reciprocity is another powerful principle in influence. We all have a natural tendency to return favors, whether they are small or large. This is the basis of the law of reciprocity, which states that if you give something to someone, they are more likely to give something back to you. This doesn't mean you should do things with the intention of manipulating others, but rather that offering value first creates a sense of goodwill and can make the other person more inclined to agree with you later on. For example, if you're asking for a favor or a commitment, start by offering something of value to the other person. This could be as simple as providing a helpful resource, offering your assistance, or giving them something that will make their life easier. When you do this, they will likely feel a sense of obligation or gratitude toward you, making it easier for them to say yes when you ask for something in return. One of the most subtle yet effective tools for getting someone to say yes is the principle of consistency. People like to be seen as consistent with their past behavior and decisions. If someone has already committed to something, whether it's a small promise or a larger commitment, they are more likely to continue down that path. This is why you often hear the phrase commitment and consistency in persuasion. If you're trying to influence someone's decision, start by getting them to make a small commitment. This could be as simple as asking for their opinion on something, or getting them to agree to a small, low-stakes request. Once they've committed to something small, they are much more likely to say yes to something larger later on because they want to remain consistent with their previous actions. For example, imagine you're trying to get someone to commit to a long-term project or an ongoing collaboration. Instead of asking them to commit to the full scope right away, start by asking for something small. This could be agreeing to a short meeting or signing up for an introductory session. Once they've made this small commitment, they are much more likely to agree to more significant commitments later because they want to be consistent with their initial decision. Lastly, it's essential to understand that timing plays a crucial role in the influence process. You can present the most compelling argument, But if the timing is off, your efforts may fall flat. Timing is about understanding when someone is most receptive to your message and when they are in the right mindset to make a decision. For instance, if you're trying to get someone to agree to a difficult conversation or ask for something significant, don't do it when they're stressed, distracted, or overwhelmed. Wait for a time when they are calm, focused, and open to new ideas. If you can identify these moments and act accordingly, you increase your chances of getting a positive response. So, what does all of this mean in practice? To get people to say yes, you must tap into their emotions, make them feel they are making their own decision, leverage the power of social proof and reciprocity, encourage consistency, and choose the right moment to make your request. The art of influence is about understanding the psychology of decision-making and using that knowledge to guide others in a way that feels natural and respectful. When you master these principles, you can create a powerful, lasting influence that benefits everyone involved. Building trust is the foundation of any successful relationship, whether personal, professional, romantic, or even casual. Without trust, no amount of influence, persuasion, or charisma will lead to lasting results. Trust is the currency of influence. When people trust you, they listen to you, they follow you, and they are more likely to say yes when you ask for their support. But how do you build trust in a way that is genuine and sustainable? Trust is built on consistency. People trust those who are predictable, reliable, and true to their word. If you say you're going to do something, follow through. This may seem like common sense, but many people fail to realize just how powerful consistent action is in establishing trust. When you consistently show up, follow through on your commitments, and demonstrate your reliability, people begin to trust you. Trust is a slow process, and it can be broken in an instant. But the steady accumulation of positive, consistent behavior builds a strong foundation. Imagine you're working with a colleague who always meets deadlines, delivers on promises, and shows up when they say they will. Over time, you begin to trust them without even thinking about it. This person has earned your trust by consistently proving that they are dependable. On the flip side, if someone consistently fails to meet expectations or backs out of promises, trust quickly erodes. The key takeaway here is that trust is not something you demand or expect. It's something you earn through consistent actions. Transparency is another crucial element of trust building. People trust others who are open and honest with them. When you share your thoughts, feelings, and intentions, it signals to others that you have nothing to hide. Transparency creates a sense of safety, which is essential for building strong, lasting relationships. However, transparency is not about oversharing or being too blunt. It's about being open in a way that fosters understanding and connection. For example, if you're leading a team and you encounter a challenge, don't try to hide it or pretend everything is fine. Instead, be transparent about the situation, the obstacles you're facing, and the steps you're taking to address them. When you show that you are vulnerable and honest, others are more likely to trust your leadership and support your efforts. Similarly, if you're trying to build trust in a personal relationship, don't hide your feelings or avoid difficult conversations. Instead, be open about your emotions, concerns, and needs. Honesty creates an environment where people can connect more deeply. It allows both parties to feel understood and respected. When you open up, you invite the other person to do the same, fostering a relationship based on mutual trust. Listening and showing empathy are also vital to trust building. When you take the time to truly listen to someone and understand their perspective, you send a powerful message that you value them and their feelings. Empathy is the bridge that connects people emotionally. And when someone feels emotionally connected to you, they are more likely to trust you. When you listen actively, without judgment, and with genuine concern, you create an environment where trust can flourish. Consider a time when you felt truly understood by someone. Perhaps they listened to your frustrations, offered thoughtful responses, and validated your feelings. In that moment, you likely felt a sense of trust toward that person. Trust doesn't come from agreeing with someone all the time. It comes from showing that you genuinely care about their experience and that you're there to support them. But trust isn't just about how you make others feel. It's also about your actions and how you handle adversity. When challenges arise, how do you react? Do you keep your composure, remain calm, and stick to your values? Or do you panic and act unpredictably? People trust those who are calm and collected in the face of adversity. How you handle pressure is often the most revealing test of your character. For example, if you're in a leadership position and your team faces a difficult situation, how you respond in that moment will have a lasting impact on your team's trust in you. If you approach the problem with calmness, clarity, and transparency, your team will trust you more. But if you panic, hide the truth, or act impulsively, you'll lose trust, and it will be much harder to regain. In your personal relationships, the way you react to challenges or conflicts is just as important. If you are able to stay composed, communicate openly, and work together to find a solution, your relationships will grow stronger. On the other hand, if you react with defensiveness, anger, or avoidance, the foundation of trust will begin to crumble. Accountability is another crucial element of trust building. Being accountable means taking responsibility for your actions, owning your mistakes, and being willing to make things right when you've fallen short. When you're accountable, you demonstrate that you are dependable and responsible, which are two key traits that foster trust. For example, if you make a mistake at work, don't try to deflect blame or cover it up. Instead, own it. Acknowledge the impact it has had and work to correct it. This kind of accountability is a sign of maturity and integrity, both of which are essential for building trust. When you take responsibility for your actions, people will respect you and trust that you will always be honest and reliable moving forward. Respecting boundaries is also a critical part of building trust. We all have personal boundaries that define our comfort zones, and it's important to respect the boundaries of others. Whether those boundaries are emotional, physical, or intellectual, respecting them shows that you value the other person's well-being and comfort. Violating someone's boundaries, even unintentionally, can significantly damage trust. For instance, if someone has expressed a desire for privacy or space, respecting that request is essential for maintaining trust. On the flip side, if you repeatedly push someone's boundaries, even after they've communicated their limits, trust will quickly be eroded. Respect for boundaries creates a sense of safety in relationships, which is key to fostering trust and connection. In addition to respect, patience plays a vital role in building trust. Trust is not something that is built overnight. It takes time, and it requires a consistent demonstration of reliable behavior, transparency, and care. Be patient with yourself and others as you work to build trust. Don't expect instant results, but trust that the work you're putting in now will pay off in the future. The more consistent and patient you are, the more trust you will build over time. So, how can you apply these principles in your own life to become someone others can rely on? Start by practicing consistency in your actions, being transparent with your intentions, and listening with empathy. When you encounter challenges, handle them with calmness and accountability. and always respect the boundaries of others. Over time, you'll find that the trust you build with others will create deeper, more meaningful relationships, and your ability to influence others will grow stronger as a result. Trust is not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing process. But by committing to these principles and embodying them in your everyday interactions, you'll cultivate a level of trust that will make you a person others can rely on, follow, and support. And when people trust you, they will naturally gravitate toward you, listen to you, and be more open to the influence you have to offer. In our journey of mastering the art of connection and influence, we've explored verbal communication, body language, and the psychological principles that shape how we interact with others. However, there's a deeper layer of influence at play, one that often goes unnoticed by many, but is essential for establishing dominance, respect, and trust in social settings. Nonverbal cues and social dynamics are just as important, if not more so, than the words we say. Understanding these silent signals can make the difference between being the center of attention and being left in the shadows. When it comes to social dynamics, every interaction, whether it's between friends, colleagues, or even strangers, is governed by unspoken rules. These rules often dictate who leads the conversation, who gets the most attention, and who has the most influence in the room. Being aware of these social dynamics gives you a powerful tool to subtly guide your interactions, ensuring that you come across as confident, respected, and influential. The first step in mastering social dynamics is understanding the unspoken hierarchy that exists in every interaction. Think about any group setting. Whether it's a meeting, a social gathering, or a casual conversation, there is always an invisible pecking order that determines who holds the most influence or command of attention. Some people naturally take the lead in conversations, while others remain more passive or deferential. Understanding this hierarchy is crucial because, in any given situation, there are certain people whose body language, position, or energy suggests that they have the most authority. When you step into a room, whether it's a meeting or a social event, start by observing who is standing or sitting where, who is making the most eye contact, and who is being listened to the most. In many cases, those who have the most dominance or influence are standing at the center or leading the conversation with a calm but assertive posture. They take up space with their physical presence, and their gestures are open, confident, and deliberate. Meanwhile, those who are more passive or deferential may be standing off to the side, avoiding eye contact, or making closed-off gestures. To harness this power, you need to understand how to position yourself and adapt your body language accordingly. If you want to be seen as an authority figure in a group, start by occupying space, stand tall, with your shoulders back, and maintain an open, relaxed posture. Don't shrink into yourself or minimize your presence. Confidence is contagious. When you project confidence, people will naturally gravitate toward you and listen to what you have to say. Mirroring social dynamics can also be a subtle but powerful way to enhance your influence in any situation. When you mirror someone else's body language, tone, or gestures, you create an unconscious bond with them. People naturally feel more connected to those who are like them. Mirroring creates a sense of familiarity and makes the other person feel at ease. However, be mindful not to overdo it. Subtlety is key. If you mirror someone too obviously, they may notice and feel uncomfortable. A slight mirroring of posture, tone, or pace will often be enough to create rapport and increase your influence. One of the most influential aspects of social dynamics is how people perceive power. Power is not always about who speaks the loudest or who has the most information. Power can often be conveyed through silence. the ability to control the flow of conversation, to speak when necessary, and to remain quiet when needed. Powerful people often do not need to fill every silence with words. They know when to let a pause linger, allowing the space for others to speak or reflect. This not only gives them the illusion of control, but it also makes them seem more thoughtful and discerning. In contrast, people who constantly talk over others or interrupt may appear less confident or insecure. Mastering this concept of powerful silence is key to becoming an influential figure in any setting. When you're speaking, avoid over-explaining or filling the conversation with unnecessary words. Let your words have weight. Speak with purpose and clarity, and don't be afraid to leave pauses. These moments of silence allow others to process your message and, in turn, enhance your own influence. In addition to mastering silence, it's important to pay attention to how people react to your presence and adjust your behavior accordingly. For example, when you enter a room or a conversation, take note of how others respond to you. Are they engaging with you directly, or are they avoiding eye contact? People are constantly sending out signals that indicate how comfortable they feel with you. If they are leaning in, making eye contact, and actively listening, it's a sign that you've established rapport and influence. If they are leaning back, avoiding eye contact, or checking their phone, it may indicate that they are not as engaged, and you may need to adjust your approach. Calibrating your approach based on these signals is one of the key ways to build influence. If people are pulling back from you, it may be helpful to adjust your energy, lower your intensity, speak with a softer tone, and give them space to re-engage. If they are leaning in and actively engaging, continue with your confident approach, but remember to keep your tone friendly and open. Adapting to others' energy and responses will help you build rapport and trust, and make you more influential in any situation. Another subtle but powerful tool for mastering social dynamics is reading people's facial expressions. Our faces are incredibly expressive, and they can convey a wealth of information about someone's emotions and intentions. Learning to read micro-expressions, those fleeting facial movements that reveal hidden emotions, can give you an advantage in understanding how others are feeling. For example, a quick flash of a smile or a furrowed brow can tell you whether someone is engaged, amused, confused, or frustrated. Once you can pick up on these small cues, you can adjust your behavior accordingly, helping you navigate social dynamics with greater ease. Finally, understanding the power of space and proximity is another key element of social dynamics. People naturally position themselves in relation to others based on perceived power and familiarity. For instance, in a group setting, those with higher status will often position themselves in a central location, while those with lower status may stand off to the side. In one-on-one conversations, how close you stand to someone can signal different levels of intimacy or respect. Pay attention to how others position themselves around you. It can reveal how they perceive your status and how comfortable they feel in your presence. Mastering these aspects of social dynamics and nonverbal communication can enhance your ability to influence people and navigate complex social interactions with ease. Whether you're at a business meeting, a social gathering, or a family dinner, your understanding of these dynamics will give you an edge in building rapport, gaining trust, and establishing your influence. By becoming more aware of your own body language, tone, and presence, and by learning to read and respond to others' nonverbal cues, you'll enhance your ability to connect with people on a deeper level. Social influence is not about force or manipulation. It's about understanding the subtle dynamics that drive human behavior and adjusting your actions to guide those dynamics toward positive outcomes. When you master these skills, your influence will grow and your ability to connect with others will become second nature. By now, we've explored how to develop connections, influence conversations, and read nonverbal cues. But one of the most important questions remains: how do you become the person people naturally trust and follow? How do you master the art of influence to such an extent that your words carry weight and your actions inspire those around you? The answer lies in understanding the deep psychology of influence to be someone others trust and follow. You must first understand the fundamental human needs and desires that drive behavior. We're all motivated by similar psychological forces: the desire for belonging, the need for security, the quest for personal growth, and the drive for recognition. By understanding these needs, you can become the person who fulfills them for others and, in doing so, increase your influence and trustworthiness. Let's begin with the concept of authenticity. In today's world, where so many people try to project an idealized version of themselves, authenticity is a rare and powerful trait. People are naturally drawn to those who are genuine and true to themselves. When you act with authenticity, you signal to others that you can be trusted. Authenticity fosters a sense of reliability and consistency. People follow those who are honest, transparent, and aligned with their values. If you want to be someone people trust and follow, start by being authentic in every interaction. Don't try to be someone you're not in order to impress others. Instead, be the best version of yourself, one that is rooted in integrity, humility, and honesty. When you show others that you're comfortable with who you are, they will naturally feel comfortable with you as well. Next, let's consider the importance of empathy in the psychology of influence. People are naturally drawn to those who can understand and share their feelings. Empathy builds trust because it makes others feel seen, heard, and valued. When you empathize with others, you create a sense of connection that goes beyond surface-level interactions. You tap into their emotions, and they respond by feeling understood and supported. To build influence, practice empathy in your daily interactions. Listen actively. Ask questions that encourage others to share their experiences and validate their feelings. Empathy is a powerful tool for building rapport and gaining trust, as it signals that you genuinely care about others' well-being and experiences. When people feel understood, they are much more likely to trust you and follow your lead. A key aspect of building trust and influence is the ability to show respect for others. Respect is one of the most fundamental human needs. When you treat others with respect, you signal that you value their worth, opinions, and contributions. This creates an environment where trust can flourish. Respect doesn't always come in the form of grand gestures. It's often shown in small, everyday actions. Simple things like listening without interrupting, acknowledging others' achievements, and giving credit where it's due can go a long way in establishing respect. When you show respect to others, they feel valued and appreciated, and as a result, they are more likely to trust and follow you. Consistency is another crucial factor in the psychology of influence. People trust those who are consistent in their words and actions. When you demonstrate consistency, you signal that you are reliable and dependable. This is particularly important in leadership and influence. When your actions match your words, people can count on you to follow through on your promises and commitments. Consistency also means being predictable in your behavior and reactions. People are naturally drawn to those who are stable and calm, especially in challenging situations. When you can remain composed and level-headed under pressure, people will look to you for guidance and reassurance. This kind of consistency builds trust over time and positions you as someone others can rely on, both personally and professionally. Now let's dive deeper into the concept of social proof. One of the most powerful psychological principles in influence is the idea that people tend to look to others for guidance when making decisions. Social proof is the tendency to follow the actions or opinions of others, especially in uncertain situations. People trust those who are already trusted by others. This is why testimonials, endorsements, and word-of-mouth recommendations are so effective. If you want to enhance your influence, start by surrounding yourself with people who already trust and admire you. Build a positive reputation by consistently delivering value, keeping your promises, and acting with integrity. As others see you gaining trust, they will be more likely to trust you themselves. This is how social proof works. When others see that you are already trusted, they will naturally want to follow your example. One way to leverage social proof in your interactions is by highlighting shared experiences and values. People are more likely to trust you when they perceive you as similar to themselves. Find common ground with others, whether it's shared interests, goals, or values, and use that connection to build rapport. When people see that you share their experiences and values, they will feel a deeper sense of connection and trust. The power of reciprocity is another key psychological principle that influences trust and connection. Reciprocity is the idea that people feel obligated to return a favor or gesture that has been offered to them. This is a powerful tool for building trust and influence. When you do something for others without expecting anything in return, they will feel a sense of gratitude and obligation to reciprocate. This doesn't mean you should offer help or favors solely with the expectation of receiving something in return. Instead, think of reciprocity as a way of creating goodwill and building a network of support. When you give freely and generously, others will be more likely to trust you and return the favor when you need it. In this way, reciprocity strengthens relationships and fosters mutual trust. Another essential aspect of influence is the ability to inspire and motivate others. People follow those who can paint a compelling vision of the future and inspire them to take action. If you want to be the person others trust and follow, you need to be able to articulate a clear and motivating vision of where you're heading and how others can be part of the journey. Inspire others with your passion, enthusiasm, and belief in the mission. When people see that you are genuinely excited and driven, they will be more likely to follow your lead. To become a person others trust and follow, you must also demonstrate courage. Courageous individuals are often those who step up when things get tough, speak out when something is wrong, and take calculated risks when necessary. People admire those who have the courage to act in alignment with their beliefs, even when it's difficult. Courage builds trust because it signals that you are willing to take risks for what you believe in, and that kind of integrity is inspiring to others. Humility is also a crucial aspect of building trust. While confidence is important, humility shows others that you are open to learning, willing to admit when you're wrong, and always striving to grow. Humble individuals acknowledge the contributions of others and share the spotlight. Humility creates a sense of equality and respect, which makes others feel comfortable following you. Finally, it's important to remember that building trust is a long-term commitment. Trust is not something that can be earned overnight. It requires time, effort, and consistency. To be the person others trust and follow, you must continuously demonstrate authenticity, empathy, respect, consistency, and all the other qualities that foster trust. Over time, your ability to influence others will grow, and you'll become the kind of person who others naturally want to follow. In conclusion, becoming a person others trust and follow is a journey that requires deep understanding, commitment, and action. By aligning your behavior with psychological principles such as authenticity, empathy, social proof, and reciprocity, you can create the kind of influence that leads to lasting relationships, professional success, and personal fulfillment. Trust is the cornerstone of influence. And once you master the art of building trust, you will find that your ability to lead, inspire, and make a difference in the world will grow exponentially.